Welcome to Great Notley, Britain's newest village, being constructed on the outskirts of Braintree, the Essex town that lies about 65 miles north of London. Essex is Britain's newest boom area. Over the next 20 years, thousands of houses are planned to be built here. The question is, how can we do it without turning the county into a sea of concrete? And can we learn from the mistakes of the past, where all too often new housing meant soulless rows of houses and featureless estates? Well, the people here at Great Notley believe that they've come up with some new solutions. The constructors here say they're not just building a new village, but a new community. Until 7 years ago, this whole area was just open fields and farmland. Then a developer was given permission to build what was called a garden village of around 2,000 houses. The earliest part of the development is now 5 years old, but there are still around 1,000 houses to be built, and many public facilities in various stages of construction. These lakes are also part of the development. They're the central feature of a country park, which is connected to the houses just over there by a series of paths and cycleways. Just over that hill, which is also man-made, there'll be a leisure centre which will be powered by solar panels and a wind turbine. There's plenty to see, and over the coming series, we'll be taking you behind the scenes of this huge development and introducing you to the planners, the architects, the managers, the builders, and even the people who have decided to make Great Notley their home.
When I first arrived here, this was last August, there was no street as such. There was a tarmac road, and they'd just put down the footings for my house, so it's very exciting.
Builders have gone to great lengths in designing houses which are not square boxes, if you like, lots of different elevations, lots of different facades, and that struck me immediately that this was a bit exceptional.
People here are really quite funny. They don't like it to be called an estate. Everybody calls it garden village.
This is a model of the development, and it gives you some idea of the scale of things. This is the southern end, and it sweeps all the way up to the northern end there, a journey, if you were walking, that would take something like 45 minutes. It's huge, split into 3 separate hamlets. There's all sorts of detail on here that we will be seeing later, like the village green, there's the village hall, there's the shopping area there, there's the manor house, which looks tiny on this, but in reality is huge. Now, even though this was only built about a year ago, it's actually already out of date because the development has spread. We're going to be concentrating on 3 separate areas which don't have houses on here, but in reality already do have houses on. This area is known as the Stowe, which is kind of upmarket houses. Then you've got Willow's Edge here, and then finally Hunter's Lodge. And this is where our story begins. Over the next 16 months, this whole area is going to be transformed into 22 large family homes, the cheapest of which will set you back about £275,000 and the most expensive nearer to £400,000. The first phase is going up over there. The last phase is going to be right over in the corner over there, which at the moment is just a gleam in the planner's eye. But we're going to be concentrating on these plots here, where today they are marking out the foundations. Get it right, perfection. Get it wrong, disaster. Jack is the senior engineer on the site, and it's his job to mark out where the houses go. Now, in front of us at the moment, we've just got a nice flat bit of mud, and believe it or not, that house there, with its strange shapes, is going to go over there into that corner. I have absolutely no idea how you could start to lay out the foundations on this, but you're going to tell me, aren't you, Jack? And I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to give you a hand, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
What shall I be? What do they call the people that hold the stick for you?
It's chain boy.
A chain boy?
That's right.
I'm going to be a chain boy, all right. And you've got markers that you've already set out that you're going to start to use, yeah?
Known points.
All right, known points.
Yeah.
Well, we'll deal with known points in a minute, but first of all, let's get the gear and we'll start laying it out, all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Each house has to be exactly positioned on the site according to its longitude and latitude. Jack's job is to mark this out on the ground. He can only do this if he knows, first of all, where he's starting from. To help him, there are a number of markers around the site called known points. Pegs where the grid reference is already known. If he points a laser beam from an instrument called an electronic distance measuring device at 2 of these markers, he can calculate exactly where he is.
Prism on that blue peg, you'll see a nail on top.
Yeah? And I put this right on top of the nail.
That's it, yes. Right on top of the nail, and if you can level it through with that.
I shall have a go. How do I level it?
Just hold it on the ground.
Oh, you mean, then just level it by hand? Do I have to have steady hands for this?
That's right.
Oh, my word. Well, I'm going to take this over to the known point. We actually know where that is on a grid reference. I'm going to put it on the very, very top, and then a laser will be shone from that onto this prism in here. You can probably see yourself there. And that will bounce back. And once you take another point over to the left, you can do a cross reference. So you know exactly where the tripod is, and you can start from there to lay out the house. Right. This is the known point over here. There is indeed a nail right on the top of it. I shall endeavour to put this on the nail. How am I doing, Jack? Is that about right?
Okay. Yeah.
Is that it? Excellent. Now he needs another fixed point over here so that he can get a cross-reference, and that tells him where his tripod is in the world, exactly, to within thousandths of an inch. Now, somewhere around here, there is a nail hammered into the tarmac, which is the right, and it's here, which is the right-hand fixed point. Now, believe it or not, this tiny nail down here is the marker. I have to get the point exactly on it. There we go. Point it towards Jack and try and hold the spirit level in the middle. Very calm, with my hands as still as possible. Oh, was I concentrating then? Well, it's still in the middle. He is happy. Hands in the air. We've done it. Right. We now know exactly where the tripod is.
With the tripod as a baseline, it's now a straightforward operation to mark out the corners of the house.
1 metre 600 away.
Each corner has a grid reference which is given on the plan. Jack must get it right to the last millimetre, or the house could end up on the neighbouring plot of land.
How are we doing, Jack? He's got to find a peg now and his hammer. Hammer's over that way, Jack. Pegs are over that way. But I'll stay here, don't worry. Are we close?
That's spot on.
Spot on.
Actually, we've...
Do I take it out and you use that hole? You know, if I'd ever been round a building site, Jack, I would never have thought that pieces of wood like that in the ground were so important. I mean, you must get kids pulling them out and all sorts of things.
yes, yes. Vandalism that goes on.
And you have to do it all again.
That's right.
And the people driving round with all the big trucks, they've got to be constantly looking out for pegs so that they don't drive over them.
I had one instance up here, I set a house out and within a day there was, all my points were splattered. Do it again. Obviously you start swearing, you know. You know.
I'll bet you do. Now, I go for the middle of this again, don't I?
That's it.
Okay.
If everything goes well, it'll take Jack about an hour to mark out a house, depending on how complicated the floor plan is.
Back 500.
Well, not surprisingly, the professionals can get on with the job a little quicker when I'm not hindering them, and besides, it's raining and I'm getting fed up of building. They're going to lay out the rest of the pegs, and then the ground workforce comes in to do the next stage.
Join us after the break, when we'll meet the man responsible for the thinking behind Great Notley, and learn how, once the pegs are in, the layout of a house is literally painted on the ground. Welcome back to Great Notley. This is what you might call the heart of the development. It's the village green and cricket pitch. And I've come here to meet one of the people responsible for the thinking behind the project. His name is John Oldham, and he's a town planner.
Now, but you were working for a building company. Presumably, you know, a big space of grass like this would fit an awful lot more houses. Your company would make an awful lot more money. Why did they think that it was necessary to put all these extra things in?
Well, it's to create a place. It's to create a place with identity, a place with character. So what we wanted to do was create a place which took the best from English villages. And we were looking here, we're located in Essex, and we're looking at Essex villages, villages like Faxted, Castle Hedenham. If people buy homes, it's more than just a house. They want to know how they can get to work, where their children can go to school, where they can shop. It's all those things that make a community, and that's what we try to do here. And we know it works because people tell us.
John took me on a tour of some of the things he thinks make Great Notley special.
Well, here we are at the southern gateway to Great Notley Garden Village, and we're going up a Scots Pine Avenue, and on both sides you can see this wall. It's called a crinkle-crankle wall. It's a serpentine wall. That's right.
Crinkle Crankle, is that what they're really called?
That's the local name. That's the traditional name, and it's a single skin wall. It's like a piece of corrugated cardboard, very, very structurally strong. It also provides a little heat sink, so you can grow peaches, figs in the little heat trap.
And John, this bit is all based around the manor house. Why would you build a new manor house in the middle of an estate?
So you know where you are. It's a sense of identity, sense of place. We're not trying to build a soulless housing estate here. We're trying to create a place where you recognise as you drive around. I live near the manor house. Massive, great building, a very imposing building. 2 lodge houses, great big gateways, very, very strong wall. You're at the manor house.
And you just see it wherever you walk around here?
And that's the idea. Know where you are.
Okay. Do you ever worry that it's sort of like, almost like a godlike position, that you're dictating how people are going to live?
It's trying to actually give people places that they treasure, and we're trying to actually provide these places that people value. So you can see here, if you can actually find any graffiti, I'd be very, very disappointed. This is an environment that people value, and that's what we're trying to create. You can see here, we're just approaching the village high street, and very, very tight. The homes literally tipping out onto the pavement, very, very tiny front gardens, very, very enclosed. So a real tight little village street with a stop building done in a lovely Suffolk red at the end here, which frames the whole street as we turn the corner.
Now, you've got all these traffic calming features. I noticed she went straight over the middle of that one. They're roundabouts.
And roundabouts tend to annoy people. Why have you had to put these into the estate?
Well, this estate has been designed to be a place for people and a place which is very safe and secure. So we tried to make sure the traffic does no more than 20 miles per hour. So all these roundabouts have been very, very carefully designed. So much so that these roundabouts have been redesigned and redesigned.
Really?
Really, we've had to actually raise the roundabout on 4 separate occasions. Now we're satisfied that you can do no more than 20 miles per hour over the top of it.
You've rebuilt this 4 times?
4 times.
Patience in your job, then.
Patience.
Landmarks, traffic calming, public spaces. For many of the new residents of Great Notley, the formula seems to work. And, perhaps to their own surprise, some of them even like living in a building site.
The main thing that appeals to anybody about Great Notley really is that big houses and small houses are mixed together, and you don't get great long terraces of little houses and big houses all off on their own because they're bigger and better.
Naomi Padfield moved into her house 2 months ago. The view out of her window changes almost daily.
When I first came here, it was just mud right through. There was sort of mud, and then we had a bit of a green field where those trees are, and then beyond that was the A131. And then over the last 3 or 4 months, we've gone from this being quagmire to concrete going in, concrete trenches, blocks up, footings up. Now we're getting on quite majorly now with walls and windows and things, and it's amazing how the view changes in a matter of days. You know, today we've gone right up to windows from sort of 2 foot this morning.
As spring approaches, Naomi, like many of the new residents of Great Notley, is keen to get her garden under control.
I have a tiny little patch of garden. It's very exciting. It's just a little patch, but I'm very excited about it, and I have great big plans and things. I'm going to we're turfing it all over. We've put this fence up and things, and then we're going to turf it down. 2 little arch beds at the bottom. And
we'll pay her another visit in a couple of weeks to see how she's doing. Meanwhile, back at the Hunter's Lodge area of the village, Jack and Andy have almost finished laying out plot 9.
Now, whilst they continue to knock the last few pegs in, I'm going to spray this and all the other pegs blue. It just shows you where the actual corners of the house are. And then what you do is you take a piece of string and you tie it between each peg, and then quite literally just go along the string, marking the line so that they know where to dig up the foundations. It's as simple as that. Or is it?
So we've got to do is bang a pin in for each of the walls going through. So we're looking at about 7 pins along there.
And how do you know where to put them in along this tape measure?
This drawing here shows you where all the internal walls go, with all the measurements relating to that peg.
So you know
that corner there.
You know that this one goes in at, what's that?
That's 2701 from the, and 216. 216 is
that peg.
216 plus 2701, and half of that wall, which will be half of that dimension there, 107 again. So you total all those up, that gives you the dimension of that to that centre wall.
I thought I had it all sussed. Now I'm completely confused again, but anyway, okay, right.
And that measurement is 4 metres, 462 mil.
I see why you have plastic maps now, or plans, because they get covered in mud. Now, that string's gone right the way through the house.
Yeah.
Is that wall there then?
It is indeed.
Right.
So now we've got to...
But it doesn't go all the way across, does it?
That's correct, yeah.
So you're going to spray from here,
yeah,
across to where?
Well, it's the first pin we put in.
Right.
Off of our pin, off of our corner peg that we banged in earlier.
Right.
So that first pin was denoting that. So we've got to stop the spray at that first pin.
Right.
So you can go from here and stop at the first pin.
And do I just start spraying now?
Yeah, we normally spray above it like that. So you,
Above it?
yeah, so you've got your eye looking down right below that string line.
Through the water?
Yeah.
Tell me when to stop. You tell me when to stop.
Yeah, it's about there.
There. Okay. So that, basically, here, when the line goes across there, that's going to be a room, isn't it?
Quite probably, yes.
And,
Yeah.
and I think a chimney breast is going in here or something like that.
You're not far wrong.
Wow! Created part of a house. Now, so the digger comes along, great big excavator, and just follows that blue line, yes?
That is actually centre of footing. So we want,
Centre?
Yeah, so we want to put the centre of his bucket on there, and he will dig that line out.
Do the colours mean anything?
Not really, no. On quite complicated footings, we do tend to code them a little bit. It's just width of trench or a depth of trench or something, just a change, you know. So we tend to sometimes colour them up different, just to make it easier for the digger driver.
So he knows that if it's orange, he has a digger that's that wide or whatever.
That's correct, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll leave you to it.
Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed that.
Everything is ready now for the foundations. But if you thought laying foundations was a simple business, join us next time when you'll find that there's more to it than meets the eye. And we'll meet the woman responsible for designing some of Great Notley's more unusual houses.